July 2022. The American West faces a reckoning. At Lake Mead, the country's most critical reservoir, the water has retreated, leaving behind a white scar on the canyon walls. A bathtub ring, marking a drop of over 160 feet since the turn of the millennium. The surface area has shattered, shrinking by nearly 140 square miles. As the water vanishes, desperation breeds madness. A proposal has emerged from the shadows of engineering bureaucracy. It is a plan so colossal, so expensive, and so dangerous, it sounds like science fiction. A $500 billion artificial artery designed to pump the Mississippi River across a continent, defying gravity to save the desert. But history warns us. When humanity tries to rewrite the laws of hydrophysics, nature often strikes back with devastating violence. Today, we investigate the impossible plan to rescue the Colorado River. To understand the solution, you must understand the scale of the collapse. Lake Mead isn't just a lake, it is a mechanical heart, holding back the Colorado River to sustain 40 million people. But since the year 2000, that heart has been failing. The culprit is a quiet deficit. For decades, the allocated water rights exceeded the river's actual flow. Add to that a 20% drop in basin runoff and the scorching evaporation that steals nearly 4 square miles of water annually into thin air. The system is bleeding out. Enter the mega fix. The concept is simple on paper, but staggering in reality. Harvest the excess might of the Mississippi River, which dumps 158 trillion gallons into the ocean every year, and divert just 1% of it to the parched West. But the logistics are a nightmare. This isn't a pipeline. It's a man-made river encased in steel and concrete. We are talking about a canal 100 feet wide, or pipelines with a diameter of 88 feet, tunnels large enough to house a 10-story building inside. The true enemy, however, is the Continental Divide. Water does not climb mountains. To push billions of gallons over the Rockies, engineers would need a pumping capacity of 1 gigawatt, roughly the output of a nuclear power plant, just to fight gravity. The timeline? 30 years. The cost? $500 billion. But while politicians argue over budgets, biologists are screaming a warning. Connecting these two isolated water worlds could trigger an ecological apocalypse. The Mississippi is a warm, slow-moving giant, teeming with aggressive life, Asian carp, zebra mussels, and distinct microbial ecosystems. The Colorado is cold, channelized, and fragile. If you connect them, you don't just move water, you move the war. A single breach in filtration could introduce invasive species that would scour the Colorado Basin clean of native life, causing hundreds of millions in damages annually. Critics argue that the sheer complexity of such a project invites disaster, and they point to one specific event as proof. A moment in American history when a single engineering miscalculation erased a body of water from the face of the earth in mere hours. November 20th, 1980, Lake Peigneur, Louisiana. A shallow, sleepy freshwater lake, barely 10 feet deep. On its surface, a Texaco drilling crew was performing a routine bore. Below them, unknown to the crew, lay the Diamond Crystal Salt Mine, a labyrinth of tunnels hundreds of feet underground. At first, the drill simply stuck. Then, the rig began to tilt. It wasn't a mechanical failure. The lake bottom was moving. The drill had punctured the roof of the mine. In the world of salt and water, this is a death sentence. The fresh water rushed into the mine, dissolving the salt pillars that held the roof up, turning a tiny 14-inch hole into a gaping maw. A whirlpool formed, a vortex of terrifying power. It didn't just swallow the drilling rig, it swallowed the barges, the docks, and 65 acres of surrounding forest. The flow of the Delcambre Canal, which usually drained the lake out to the sea, actually reversed. For the 55 miners underground, it was a race against a biblical flood. Miraculously, they evacuated just as the mine filled, but above, the lake was gone. In its place, a churning crater of mud and salt water from the Gulf of Mexico. The ecosystem was annihilated instantly. Lake Peigneur proved a terrifying truth. Nature is a delicate balance. One puncture, one wrong coordinate, and the geography changes forever.
While Penure was a sudden, violent death, other lakes are dying a slow, suffocating execution. Look to the Great Salt Lake in Utah. Since the late 80s, diversion for agriculture has strangled the lake's inflows. By 2022, it had lost two-thirds of its surface area. But the danger here isn't a whirlpool, it's the air. As the lake bed dries, it exposes toxic dust laced with arsenic and heavy metals, threatening the lungs of millions in Salt Lake City.
This is the ghost of Lake Mead's future. If the water stops flowing, the desert reclaims everything. With pipelines deemed too costly and dangerous, and conservation failing to stop the bleeding, humanity is turning to the only place left: the sky. In the Rockies, pilots are flying directly into winter storms, burning silver iodide flares. This is cloud seeding. The particles mimic ice nuclei, tricking the clouds into dropping their moisture. It is a desperate attempt to amplify the snowpack, the frozen battery that powers the Colorado River. On the water's surface, engineers are deploying floating armor, modular covers and solar panels designed to block the sun, slashing evaporation by up to 90%. We are now in an era where we must wrap our lakes in plastic and chemically alter our weather just to survive. The dream of a transcontinental pipeline remains just that, a dream, suffocated by its own price tag and ecological peril. The reality is far starker. Whether through cloud seeding, strict rationing, or covering the water in shadow, the fight for the Colorado River has become a war of inches. The era of abundance is over. We are no longer conquering the desert. We are merely trying to survive it.